Something extraordinary happened with Sir Ian Botham, and for a very long time, even England struggled to understand exactly what it was. Matches that looked completely lost suddenly changed direction. Sessions that felt calm turned chaotic within minutes. Opponents who believed they were in control suddenly found themselves under pressure they did not expect. This is not just another cricket story about talent or statistics. This is the story of how one man altered the balance of matches through belief, courage and timing. Sir Ian Botham did not wait for games to come to him. He stepped into moments when others hesitated. He attacked when safety was expected. He trusted instinct when doubt surrounded him. What you're about to hear is the sequence of events that explains why England had never seen a player like him before, and why his presence alone could decide the fate of a match long before the final result appeared on the scoreboard.
To understand Sir Ian Botham, it is essential to understand the world of English cricket before his arrival. For decades, England played the game with caution, structure, and respect for tradition. Matches were built slowly. Success depended on patience, partnerships, and survival. Individual brilliance existed, but it was carefully controlled within team systems. Risk was minimized. Discipline was valued above all else. This approach produced stability, but it rarely produced sudden domination. Ian Botham entered this environment carrying something different. He was not shaped by fear of failure. He was shaped by belief in action. From the earliest days of his career, it was clear that he did not see cricket as a waiting game. He saw it as an opportunity game. He believed moments could be seized, not survived. His confidence was not loud, but it was unmistakable. When he walked onto the field, his posture carried intent. He was comfortable with responsibility. He was willing to be judged. He did not hide behind teammates or conditions. This mindset alone separated him from many of his peers. Botham grew into cricket as an all-rounder, but he did not treat batting and bowling as separate skills. He treated them as tools for control. When England needed momentum, he attacked with the bat. When England needed breakthroughs, he attacked with the ball. He did not accept passive roles. He demanded influence. This approach often clashed with traditional thinking. Coaches worried about risk, critics questioned discipline, selectors debated consistency. But despite all doubts, something undeniable kept happening. Matches changed when Botham became involved. He understood pressure better than most. He sensed fear in opponents. He recognized hesitation. He knew when teams were mentally vulnerable, and he struck during those moments. This awareness was not taught in coaching manuals. It was instinct refined by experience. Over time, England realized they were not watching an ordinary great player. They were watching the birth of something new, a player who could alter the course of a match alone, a player who did not wait for balance, a player who created imbalance. Sir Ian Botham was not trying to fit into English cricket. He was reshaping it from the inside.
As Sir Ian Botham's career progressed, it became impossible to ignore how differently he behaved during matches. When situations demanded caution, he chose aggression. When captains expected restraint, he pushed forward. This behavior confused teammates and unsettled opponents. It also produced results that could not be ignored. As a batsman, he refused to play for survival alone. When wickets fell around him, he did not retreat. He attacked. He trusted his timing and strength, even under pressure. Shots that others would never attempt became part of his natural response. This approach placed enormous pressure on bowlers and fielders, forcing mistakes. As a bowler, he carried the same attitude. He demanded responsibility. He bowled long spells details with intensity. He attacked the stumps. He searched for breakthroughs rather than containment. He believed that wickets, not economy, changed matches. This aggressive mindset often created discomfort within the team. Some feared collapse, some feared criticism, but Botham accepted these risks willingly. He believed that playing safe was more dangerous than playing bold. Opponents began to feel his influence even when he was not directly involved. His presence alone changed plans. Captains adjusted fields. Batters altered technique. The pressure he created extended beyond his own actions. Critics struggled to label him. Some called him inconsistent. Others called him reckless. But none of these labels explained why matches repeatedly turned in his presence. What looked like chaos was actually controlled aggression. What looked like risk was calculated belief. Sir Ian Botham was not gambling, he was forcing outcomes.
From the early stages of Sir Ian Botham's career, there was a growing sense within English cricket that something about him did not fit established understanding. He was clearly talented, clearly powerful, and clearly influential, yet the way his influence appeared often confused those who were responsible for managing the team. England was accustomed to players who delivered value through steady accumulation, patience and predictability. Botham did none of these things consistently, and that inconsistency triggered concern. Selectors initially believed the issue lay in technique. They studied his batting method and his bowling action, searching for flaws that might explain why his performances swung so sharply from dominance to failure. Coaches adjusted minor details, suggested changes in shot selection, and encouraged restraint in certain situations. None of these efforts produced clarity. When Botham followed instruction too closely, his impact reduced. When he ignored it, matches often shifted dramatically in England's favour. As time passed, the focus moved away from technique and toward temperament. Commentators began to describe him as emotional, impulsive, or overly aggressive. They suggested that he lacked the discipline required to perform consistently at the highest level. These opinions gained traction during matches where his risks failed and England suffered. Each failure reinforced the belief that something was wrong with his approach. Inside the team environment, debate intensified. Teammates admired his confidence and courage, but felt nervous when his aggression did not succeed. Captains faced constant strategic dilemmas. Should he be restrained to protect the team from collapse, or unleashed to chase momentum? Each option carried consequences. When he was restricted, England often felt flat and reactive. When he was free, results were unpredictable but frequently decisive. Statistical analysis only deepened confusion. His averages did not reflect his true influence. He could fail twice and then dominate once, yet that single performance could define an entire series. Traditional evaluation systems were not designed to measure moments of extreme impact. They rewarded stability, not disruption. Botham existed outside those measurements. Another source of misunderstanding came from his own behaviour. He rarely explained his decisions publicly. He did not justify his risks in interviews or respond emotionally to criticism. This silence allowed others to project assumptions onto him. Some believed he lacked awareness. Others believed he ignored advice out of arrogance. In reality, he understood his role more clearly than most observers understood him. What many failed to recognise was that Sir Ian Botham was not trying to be consistent in the conventional sense. He was trying to be decisive. He accepted failure as a consequence of ambition. He understood that playing safely might protect reputation, but it would not always protect the team. His priority was intervention, not preservation. Over time, repeated attempts to identify what was wrong revealed a deeper truth. The issue was not his discipline, temperament, or technique. The issue was expectation. English cricket expected control. Botham delivered volatility. English cricket expected predictability. Botham delivered momentum swings. Judged by old standards, he appeared flawed. Judged by impact, he was invaluable. Eventually, it became clear that nothing was broken. Sir Ian Botham was simply operating beyond the limits of traditional understanding, and English cricket had to decide whether it was willing to accept that difference.
difference. From the outside, Sir Ian Botham often appeared unpredictable, but internally his thinking was remarkably consistent. At the heart of his approach lived one powerful fixation that shaped everything he did on a cricket field. He believed deeply and unshakably that matches are not decided by long periods of control, but by short, violent shifts in momentum. This belief guided his choices more than any instruction, statistic, or expectation. Most cricketers are trained to protect balance. They are taught to stabilize innings, to absorb pressure, and to wait for opportunities. Botham viewed this philosophy as incomplete. He believed that balance was temporary and fragile. Once broken, it rarely returned. His goal was not to survive difficult moments, but to end them abruptly. This fixation was most visible when England were under pressure. While others focused on damage control, Botham searched for points of attack. He looked for bowlers who were unsure, fields that were slightly defensive, batters who hesitated. These were signals to him that momentum could be seized. He did not want to reduce loss. He wanted to reverse direction entirely. As a batsman, this obsession made him dangerous and controversial. When wickets fell quickly, he did not slow the game down, he sped it up. He believed that aggressive intent forced bowlers to abandon plans and captains to doubt decisions. Every boundary carried psychological weight. It reminded opponents that control could vanish in a few deliveries. Even when his innings ended early, the pressure he created often lingered. As a bowler, the same fixation expressed itself through relentless intent. He was not satisfied with containing runs. He wanted breakthroughs. He bowled attacking lines even when the field suggested caution. He understood that batters often feel safest when runs are flowing slowly. By challenging that comfort directly, he forced errors that more conservative bowlers never provoked. This mindset created tension within matches. Whenever Botham was involved, uncertainty filled the game. Opponents never felt settled. Teammates never felt defeated. Every session carried the possibility of sudden change. This suspense followed him throughout his career and became part of his identity. Critics struggled with this fixation because it did not align with traditional definitions of intelligence or maturity in cricket. They preferred calculated patience and incremental progress. Botham preferred disruption. He believed that fear spreads faster than confidence, and that once fear enters a contest, outcomes change quickly. Importantly, this fixation was not reckless emotion. It was a conscious philosophy. He understood the cost of failure and accepted it willingly. He knew that decisive action invited criticism, but he valued influence more than approval. Playing safe protected reputation. Playing boldly protected opportunity. This obsession also explained why attempts to restrain him often failed. When he was asked to play cautiously, his greatest weapon was removed. He became ordinary. When he was allowed to pursue momentum aggressively, he became transformative. England gained something rare, the ability to change matches suddenly rather than endure them slowly. The true problem was not his fixation itself, but the discomfort it caused. It forced English cricket to confront an uncomfortable idea that control is not always the safest path, that courage can be more reliable than caution, that volatility, when directed, can become dominance. Sir Ian Botham never abandoned this belief. It followed him through victories and failures alike. It defined how matches felt when he played, and it remains the key to understanding why he mattered so deeply, even when his performances defied neat explanation. The first unmistakable clue that Sir Ian Botham represented something entirely new for English cricket did not arrive in a single dramatic moment. It emerged gradually, through repetition, across different opponents, conditions, and situations. One extraordinary performance can always be dismissed as fortune or coincidence. Two can be argued, but when the same pattern appears again and again, explanation becomes unavoidable. England began to experience outcomes that felt unfamiliar. Matches that appeared lost were suddenly rescued. Strong opposition positions collapsed without warning. Entire sessions swung violently in England's favor. These reversals were not the result of slow pressure or long-term control. They happened quickly, often within minutes, and more often than not, Sir Ian Botham was at the center of the shift. Opponents
Opponents felt the change before scoreboards reflected it. When Botham walked to the crease, bowling plans tightened. Captains moved fielders back in anticipation rather than confidence. Bowlers adjusted lengths, sometimes too quickly, unsure whether to attack or defend. This hesitation created openings. Even when Botham did not score immediately, the uncertainty he introduced disrupted rhythm and belief. The same effect appeared when he took the ball. Batters who had looked comfortable began to play shots they did not need to play. Partnerships that had felt secure suddenly broke apart. Wickets fell in clusters rather than isolation. The match tempo accelerated, and control slipped away from the opposition. Within the England team, belief followed him. When he was involved, players sensed possibility. Even in difficult situations, there was an underlying confidence that the match was not finished. This belief changed behavior. Fielders moved sharper. Bowlers attacked more aggressively. Energy rose across the side. Hope, once present, became contagious. Crowds responded instinctively. There was anticipation rather than patience when he played. Every delivery carried potential. The atmosphere shifted from endurance to expectation. This reaction was not based on statistics. It was based on experience. People had seen this story before. Commentators struggled to describe the effect accurately. Traditional language focused on technique and temperament, but neither fully explained what was happening. The impact was psychological. Momentum was changing shape in real time. Pressure was being transferred suddenly and decisively. As these moments accumulated, the clue became impossible to ignore. England had found a player who could bend matches away from logic and toward belief. A player who could rewrite outcomes without waiting for permission. This was not luck. It was influence repeated often enough to demand recognition. Sir Ian Botham was no longer an anomaly. He was a pattern, and patterns reveal truth. In the end, the story of Sir Ian Botham is not simply the story of an extraordinary cricketer. It is the story of how one individual forced an entire cricketing culture to reconsider what truly wins matches. Before him, English cricket believed deeply in control, patience, and safety. Success was expected to arrive slowly, built through structure and caution. Botham did not reject these ideas out of disrespect. He challenged them by proving that they were not always enough. He showed that courage has a value that statistics cannot measure, that belief, when applied at the right moment, can outweigh preparation, that pressure, instead of being avoided, can be turned into a weapon. His career demonstrated that decisive action often matters more than perfect planning. Sir Ian Botham accepted risks that others avoided. He accepted criticism that others feared. He understood that failure was not evidence of weakness, but a cost paid for ambition. By accepting this cost openly, he freed himself to act without hesitation. That freedom became his greatest strength. His legacy is not defined by perfection. It is defined by intervention. Time and again, when England needed something extraordinary, he attempted something extraordinary. Sometimes it failed. Often it changed everything. Those moments reshaped how English cricket viewed individual responsibility. He also left behind a lesson for future generations. Greatness does not always look neat. It does not always arrive quietly. Sometimes it arrives violently, disruptively, and without apology. Sometimes it arrives in a form that challenges comfort and tradition. Sir Ian Botham taught England that one player, armed with belief and courage, can tilt the balance of history. He proved that matches are not only contests of skill, but contests of nerve. And in those contests, he rarely stepped back. That is why his name endures. Not because he was flawless, but because he was fearless. Not because he waited for moments, but because he created them. He did not simply play matches, he decided them. And that is the true mark of England's first genuine match winner.